Hi folks, it's Coach Kelvin here from the We Run Virtual Run Club and We Run Coach for Leeds and surrounding areas as well as online coaching. In this video, I'm going to answer, or do my best to answer, a little question that I get asked on a fairly regular basis. And that question is, when do I replace my running shoes? And as we probably know, something pops up on Strava to say that you've done 300 miles in a pair of shoes, and it's kind of like recommended by the running industry that you need to replace that shoe. But then when we think about that, the running industry is wanting us to buy more shoes, and we certainly don't want to be wearing shoes that are really truly worn out. But for a couple of reasons, we probably don't want to be replacing shoes that don't really need replacing either. And I guess one of those reasons is environmental. There's a lot of plastic and rubber in shoes. It doesn't recycle particularly well, and most of it ends up in landfill. Which isn't great. And the other thing is financial. We probably don't really want to be like spending money when we don't have to. Well, I certainly don't anyway, but I'm from Yorkshire, and we keep an eye on our kind of pennies. So if someone comes around to our house, one thing that they do quite often comment is like, "Oh, you've got a lot of running shoes," because in the kitchen there's like a rack and it's got Becky's running shoes and it's also got my running shoes. And I just kind of go like, "Yeah, yeah, maybe I do." But I've kind of started explaining to people like how I kind of rotate my shoes, and I've got an example here. So my sort of main trainer is a shoe from Innovate, and what I don't do is I don't wear a shoe out and then kind of go, oh, that's done, I need another one, and I buy another version of it, or maybe exactly the same shoe, and then sort of throw the old ones away. I keep the old ones going for as long as I can. So these are all exactly the same shoe. And this one's got, at the moment, it's got 560 miles in it. And it's still got some grip left on the bottom, but I'll tend to use it only on drier trails, and maybe some of the cushioning squidged down a little bit at the back, even though it still feels quite nice. So I'll maybe use this one for sort of shorter runs. So shorter, drier runs, I'll still use that shoe. 560 miles, and I reckon I'll get about 800 miles out of that shoe before it has to be, kind of downgraded to something else, like something that I just use kicking about in the garden, or as a bit of a water sports shoe, because I do a bit of canoeing and kayaking as well. And then, exactly the same version, just different colour, exactly the same shoe, not same version. This one's got 380 miles in it, and it's got sort of a little bit more tread left on it, so I can still use these on just like general sort of trails when it's a little bit muddy near me. 380 miles, and again that will then get almost sort of downgraded to my dry trail shoe once the other one finally gets chucked out. And then I've got one that's got literally like 10 miles on it, which has obviously got loads of studs left on the bottom. But I kind of saved this one for best. As you can see, it's nice and shiny, like almost like a little patent cork shoe, isn't it? So I saved this one for best. And I've got an ultra coming up in May, and I'd probably just like to get this one sort of nicely worn in, ready for that. So that's going to be my race shoe, or a shoe where if it's muddy and I'm in the fells, where I really do want the grip, I'll wear this shoe. So when you walk into our house, you might go like, oh my goodness, you've got loads and loads of running shoes. They must cost a fortune, and they're not great for the environment, and that's not great for the environment. I will generally get 700 or 800 miles out of a pair of shoes. And my road shoes are similar. I just have maybe one road shoe or maybe two road shoes in rotation, and probably quite similar in terms of the mileage that I get out of those shoes. Something to bear in mind though is to do like a visual inspection of the bottom of the shoe, and just kind of make sure that it's not wearing like like a sort of big sort of wedge in the heel, where if you sort of sit the shoe flat, There's a lot of sort of angle to the heel where it's worn away. Something that could actually be causing, almost like a change in your ankle position whilst you run. So keep an eye on that. And you've also got to bear in mind that a lighter runner with good running form will generally get more miles out of a shoe than a heavier runner that maybe doesn't have as good running form. So do sort of bear those things in mind. But most running shoes do way more than the manufacturers say. Even the sort of new posh ones with the posh springy foam, they will probably do like quite a lot more than this kind of suggested 200 to 250 miles. And I would hope out of those kind of Innovate trail shoes to get 700 or 800 miles, and maybe even a little bit more. I'll probably have to do some. I've done some little repairs to the oldest ones in the upper, just at the flex point. I've just put like a little bit of rubber-based glue on there where they were starting to wear a little bit. And there's a new version of that shoe just coming out at the moment. And will I be tempted to buy that shoe? Yeah, of course I will. It's like, oh, new version, and Innovate will probably have some like new innovation in it that like makes you faster or gives you more grip. But the truth is, it won't really make me faster. If it's a similar sole, it won't really give me much more grip, and I'm actually fine with the ones that I've already got. So I hope that makes some sort of sense. And if you've got any questions, please just pop them in the comments below. And for now, happy running.